Hey guys, I'm RozaldVaneGAME, and welcome back to another episode of A Case of Distrust. Where we last left off was we basically did a, we basically came off of our accident from a car, taxi cab, and we visited the police station, San Francisco police station, and they found out that Green is dead, and so we're on the case of finding out who murdered him and why, and kind of just figuring out the truth and bringing that person to justice, whoever it is. So let's do that. So we're talking to Miss Green still, currently, and that was pretty much it. We just presented the idea of like where Green died. So yeah, what were you doing last night? I guess her expression was surprised, but I told her that I just need to place everyone in their locations, Mrs. Green, to get a full picture of the evening. Of course, she asked. Let's see, I was singing with the band. The show ending at around 10 o'clock. Then we went up into the billiard hall. Oh, it haunts me that Connor was so close when he was killed. She winced. But none of us heard anything with how loud we were and how sealed that building is. That seems a little suspicious, a little bit. How late were you in the pool room? I asked. Until early morning? Say 2 or 3? Oh no, there's a contradiction to that. Well, he was found in the morning, though. What does that have to do with the last... Or what does that have to do with the last night, She asked. She was right. It didn't. I was in the pool room the whole night, she repeated. Do I even have anything to... I don't think I have anything to contradict, though. Yeah, there's nothing that can contradict to that yet, so I'll have to hold that back for now. I nodded and moved on to further questions. Let's bring up the past, or his past, if she knows a thing about it. If she knows something about his truthful past, because I don't think she knows about his real past. Excuse me, I haven't had water yet. I only had coffee, so the coffee's a little different from water, a little bit. It seems your husband was from St. Louis, I put to her. She squirmed, but said nothing. So I pressed her. Mrs. Green, I'm investigating his death. You're right, she sighed. He had told me he was from out east, though he lied to everyone else. He claimed he had fled from his past. I never asked the details, so that's all I know. But you're the first person I've told. So she kind of just thinks that we weren't aware of it, I guess. He also had 2 train tickets to get there, I continued. He wanted to return? Well, those tickets have no date printed on them, she paused, looked at me from beneath long lashes, and continued. He was thinking of going back there. I guess whatever trouble he had was blowing over. I refused. I told him I wanted to stay in San Francisco. Whenever Connor and I quarreled, a sharp, wavering inhale cut off her sentence. Well, he kept them around to brandish to show me that he loved me and that he stayed here only for me. I nodded and spoke about something else. Okay, so that's some good clues from her statements. Is that added to the statement? No, it does not get added to the statement. I am a little sad. It's kind of strange to me, I guess, that there's not a lot of evidence to it. Alright, I don't think there's anything more I can ask. The only thing I can do is to try and contradict what she did during the time at not Tiny Paul. I was looking at Tiny Paul right here. To contradict her statement about the tin spoon for what she did. Oops. That was unmistakably a mistake. Alright, I just wanted to see if that was the case. I'll leave her be. I'll head over to Frankie's for a bit to see what he has outside of the other 3 main suspect places, I guess. I nodded my thanks for her answers, then turned back to the room. Oh. I don't think there's any new information, though. Yeah, these are all read already. They've been read from the last thing, I guess. There was a man's hat hanging on the rack in the front of the door. Oh. Yeah, I better ask about that. I keep pressing escape thinking that would actually remove the book from my thing. I guess I got used to it at this point. Let's ask her about the hat, though. That's a new one for me. Ask about notes, evidence, Green's house, the hat. Yeah, it was not a hat before. I brought up the hat on the... I brought up the hat on the rack. Who does that belong to? What do you mean? She asked. I think it's my husband's. Green was wearing his hat in the police photo? Green was wearing his hat in the police photo. Fanny winced at my reference to the photograph of her husband. He may have had more than one, she said. That's a little suspicious. It's a bit suspicious. Then it might be somebody else's hat under his. Yeah, it doesn't get added to the statement. Damn it, I keep pressing exit. Okay. Leave her be. Alright, so I guess that's pretty much it for that. Alright, let's get out. I don't think there's much I can do besides trying to contradict her through her statement of being at the Tiny Spoon up until the morning, I guess. But I feel like she's been slightly lying a little bit, where she lied about being there all the way through the morning. I think she's trying to cover up for the fact that she's probably the one cheating and not him. That'd be interesting that he's the one not, like she's been the one cheating on the husband all this time, and yet she's trying to cover herself up from that problem. That'd be interesting. Southern coffee, please. If I was stuck on a case, I could grab a drink and shoot the breeze with Frankie. He might have a good tip. Might give me a good tip. Here we go. Back to Frankie. Grab a cab and try to talk to the driver. Just before starting to talk with the driver, I noticed a newspaper beside me with the headline about the recent International Winter Sports Week. Okay. I read the paper. International Winter Sport Week began today with the opening ceremony held in the Alpine city of Chamonix. I can't pronounce it. I'm pretty sure it's probably pronounced differently because of French. Chamonix, France. The United States has sent 24 of their finest men and women to compete in the inaugural contest. Basically, that's the Olympics, which is convenient because we are going through Olympics at this time period of recording, which today is August 1st, I think. Yeah, today's August 1st, so the Olympics are still going on at this point of recording, of course. We have like 1 whole week left of the Olympics left. Our hopefuls are led by Charles Jutra, kind of an interesting name, national speed skating champion, and our men's ice hockey team, who looks to upset the Canadian favorites. Organized by the French Olympic Committee, the same body that runs the famous Summer Games, this week of sports has been informally dubbed the Winter Olympics. Competition begins tomorrow. I put down the newspaper and as we arrived at my destination. Alright. Southern Coffee, going back to the toilet, I get it. Southern Coffee has a distinct feeling of home. The familiar smell of mold in that old basement was enough to put a grin on my face. Wait, what is this? A yellow newspaper was flopped on the counter. It was a sports section dated June 1st, 1887. It read, Browns continued dominant play, ending May with a 21-2 record after a Herculean 2 games thrown on the same day by pitcher Conway. I don't know baseball that well, so I'm pretty sure Conway's a popular name. Okay, let's talk to Frankie anyways. Frankie was still behind the bar. Just having the case, I drank with him. I sat down at the bar and summarized my night for Frankie, including what Shipman had told me this morning. Frankie's eyebrow raised in shock throughout the story. He was attentive and asked many questions. He shook his head in disbelief as I finished the story. This is some case, so you think you'll go through with it? I told him I thought I would. He sighed. His voice is harder to do sometimes. I don't know, Malone. These Egan's rats sounds dangerous. You sure you know what you're doing? I answered with a stern look. Well, alright. Just let me know if I can help with anything. Alright, I got notes here, but I don't think I have much of an evidence, though. Let me ask about that. Green died at midnight, I said to Frankie. Right. You caught me up on that, he said. Guess you need to place all your suspects at midnight. Not that it'll be easy. I agreed. What else do you want to talk about? So he doesn't really want to bring that up or anything. Maybe he has something to do with, like, if he has knowledge about the gun being used. Green was killed with an automatic pistol, I said to Frankie. Right, you caught me up on that. He replied. So you need to find out the weapon and place it in someone's hand. You won't have an easy go for it, though. Be careful. These mob guys can be dangerous. Alright. Let's see what other notes we can ask. Yeah, I don't think I already asked as much as I could, I feel like. Maybe the hat? I doubt he knows anything. Oh. So there's some newly said stuff here. I found a man's hat in Mrs. Green's apartment, I told him. Frankie laughed. And I found a cocktail shaker in this bar. Cut it out, I said. Connor was wearing his hat when he was shot. Maybe he's got more than one hat, Malone. But why would it be on the hat rack today, if it wasn't there yesterday? Frankie shrugged. The missus does some cleaning. The missus does some cleaning? I'm not sure why you're caught up on this hat, Malone. I wasn't either. Got anything else? Frankie asked. Yeah, I'm not gonna say the way he says it usually. I think that's it for now. Never mind, I said, and swiveled my seat away from this bar. Alright, well, that's that, I guess. Alright, so we got two more places we can go to. The Tin Spoon or the Stables Barbershop. Let's think here. Yeah, let's do the outlier, which is Stable. I thought of paying Stable a visit at his barbershop. Yeah, because I want to go to Stable because I feel like he can't be one of our suspects because I don't feel like he doesn't have the possibility. And even if he is the one, I feel like that's too easy per se, but I'm pretty sure the guy is technically a red herring to the story. I stepped into the taxi and rocked into a comfortable position in the back seat. I thought about starting a chat with the driver. Let's do it. I exchanged forgettable banters with the driver until he asked, "Here's the latest news about Harry Daugherty." I talked about Daugherty with him. Seems Coolidge is about ready to fire the poor bastard, he continued. Who thought the Attorney General would be their fall guy? Not shocked about the Ohio gang scandals themselves, I asked. He laughed heartily. Ha ha. Sister, politics is all scandal. Presidential politics even more. You think Hardin would have been elected without some greased palms? Everyone gets rich who's in the know. You just gotta hope they fill their coffers while not killing the rest of us. I agreed. Guess those cronies didn't expect Harding to die so quickly. The driver nodded. Not enough time to cover up. Of course, the politicians themselves are just demagogues. The real leaders are the bosses, enriching themselves while controlling their public puppets. We pulled up to my destination. Anyhow, said the driver, here we are. And I thanked him and left the taxi cab. Alright, here we go, the barbershop. The small bell above the door twinkled as I walked in. Looks like he's sitting this time. The hat rack was a deep mahogany engraved with gold leathering with a reading that read Fraser furnishes. The maroon leather chair looked comfortable. Okay, so nothing really different about the space, I feel like. Yeah, this time it's just that the guy is sitting. What's the guy's name again? Stable, yeah, Stable sitting in the sun. There was a man seated in the barber chair, tapping his foot and staring at me. I didn't see Stable anywhere. Oh, his name is Stable? Oh, it's a different dude. He stared at me with a grin that extended to his eyes. He was wearing a barber's cape, which told me he was here for a haircut. I wondered why Stable had left this man mid-trim. I asked how he was doing. "Swell," he answered. "Yes, very swell indeed. Thank you, miss." His words came out as jovial as his expression, and they held a slight affable southern tint. Oh, okay, so he has like a little bit of a southern accent, but he's very happy, I guess, positive about things. A few more pleasantries returned equally verbose responses with no meat to them. They piqued my interest. That piqued my interest. A stranger in Stable's barber chair, with no sign of Stable around. "Who are you?" I asked with genuine curiosity. "I'm merely a mortal man, enjoying my life at this very moment," he replied, looking me up and down. "And there is much to enjoy." I heaved a sigh in response. I laughed in response. I guess I'll heave a sigh in response. I heaved a sigh in response. Last night's headache didn't fully disappear, making me too tired to play any of his games. He frowned slightly. "I'm merely playing in compliment," he said. "You modern girls get your stockings all knotted whenever someone calls you pretty." I apologized. I'm not trying to be crass. I need answers to some questions, and I'll be on my way. I'm looking for Stable, but he's not here, so I placed the final 3 words. "Who are you? Who are you?" My name is Ray Carter. Regular jazz bassist at the Tin Spoon Lounge, a speakeasy in North Beach. It is my pleasure to meet you, miss. He worked at the Tin Spoon. That surprised me. Yeah, that's interesting that we found someone who can prove Mrs. Green wrong about where she was at the Tin Spoon. So that's gonna be interesting. "Were you there last night?" I asked. Until early this morning," he gleamed. "I won a bucket of change at the poker table. Just about everyone was saying they never saw someone play cards so well. Sometimes you get lucky, I suppose. He winked. Oh, come on. He's single and he looks like he wants to mingle with with Malone. This is weird. I wonder if he was at all related to this case. I was glad he was smiling. An upbeat suspect eased any harsh questions. He saw me taking notes and asked, "And are you some sort of continental operative?" When I nodded, he let out a whistle and said, "A woman detective. Well, that is almost as swell sight as a black man in a white man's barber chair." Oh, so he's African American, I think. I wouldn't accuse him. That's so weird. Alright, let's ask him some questions. I wish there was a way to say, hey, like, where was Mrs. Green during that time? Let's ask him that. Green died about around midnight, I put to him. I was inside all night with the band and down at ball playing poker. We heard no shots in the racket. Okay, I do need to go to I need to go talk to Tiny Paul to see if that's true, though. I'm not going to contradict at the moment because I don't have enough evidence or clues to anything, sort of. I nodded and asked about something else. I'm fixated with the hat because... Why is there two hats? Why? That bothers me a little bit. I'm sorry, miss, he said. I know nothing about that. I nodded and asked about something else. Okay. Fair. Maybe let's ask about the table, maybe? I showed something in my book, but he does not give me anything of note from the resulting conversation. Okay. Fair. Maybe I can ask about Mrs. Green as the singer, yeah. Really? You don't know nothing about your own freaking singer? That's so weird. How would you not know about your singer? I can't even ask about Mrs. Green either. That's kind of weird. I don't think he knows anything about the bootlegging of Stable. That'd be very... Huh. Maybe the gun? Did you have access to the gun Green was shot with? I asked him. A black man with a cannon? He laughed. Miss, if I held one in the tin spoon, I would lose more than my job. Much, much more than my job. Those boys do not treat me like they do you, pretty lady. I like to keep my neck, so no, I do not carry one. Nor do I know where to get one. Okay, fair. That sounded about right to me. Well, I don't have any clues to show that he has a gun or not, so that's the hard part. Huh. Won a lot of poker money, sitting in the stable's chair. Really, I'm running out of, like, things I can bring up. And I can't bring up the singer of the tin spoon, which is the weird part, because that should make sense, or have some kind of connective thing to it, because she was there with him, technically, but... Guess not. Has a bootlegging running. Connor Green suspected Redstone Stable of wanting him dead. I said to Carter, whatever dealings either of them had, whatever dealings either of them had, knew nothing about them, he said. Okay, so he doesn't have any connections to that kind of thing, I guess. Yeah, let's ask about the why he's sitting there. You yourself said it was strange to have a black man sitting in a white man's barber chair, I said. In fact, he smiled, it is even more rare to be in a rich white man's barber chair. So why did Stable invite you over? I asked him. He sighed. You know, white men will smile and be nice to you, but never treat you as an equal. No matter your educational background, that is, until they require something of you. And what does Stable need from you? I asked. Oh, there's some clue right here. He smiled. Oh, I like you, miss. You got to the point when it matters. But you are fun and all the same. There's much, much to respect in that. I was glad that I nurtured his friendship. Stable wants to know about Connor Green, he continued. How Connor died and why, you see. He knows that yours truly was playing at the Tin Spoon last night. Stable wanted to ask me some questions this morning. Well now, how can I refuse such a fantastic request? Fantastic request. And where did Stable go? I asked. He was here, congenial and unhurried. Then he received a telephone call and said he had to check out on something at his 10 foreign racetrack. He told me to sit tight until he returned. And here we are. Okay, so there's a new place to go to. Thanks. I think that's all I can get out of him for now, I guess. Stable wasn't here. Yeah, I don't think there's anything more I can bring up with this guy. Okay, cool. Thanks for your time, Carter. I decided to leave him be. I knew I could always come back later with more questions. Yeah, I looked around Stable's elaborate shop. Okay. So right now, so far, there's not a lot I can run on right now. It's like, it's really forcing me to really go towards Tin Spoon Lounge for the time being to see if everything is connected in the dots that they should be, because both Mrs. Green and Carter, I think it was Ray Carter, both Mrs. Green and Carter both said that they were there the whole morning, and that they all connect towards Tiny Paul being there, I guess, as well. So Green has been killed outside of the Tiny Spoon, or the Tin Spoon. I could go there to look for clues of his murder. Why the hell not? I grabbed a taxi cab and told the taxi cab where I wanted to go. Yada yada yada. I began with the driver, and our conversation came to airships. You hear about that Zeppelin fella? He asked. The crazy German thing thinks he can run transatlantic flights. The Allies won't let him build any dirigibles now, but I say, give the man a shot. We spoke about the first transatlantic flights and how he saw airplanes or airships as the travel of the future, which is the case actually, like the actuality of, in terms of like the whole thing, airships is the future of travel, which it is, ended up being. My head was in the clouds when I stepped out of the taxicab at my destination. I brought my thoughts back to San Francisco and continued on the case. I arrived again at the old warehouse turned speakeasy, its wooden floor still barely holding onto the frame of the building. I rapped my knuckles on the same metal door. Instead of the usual dark eyes, the door swung open to reveal Fred Grant. Oh, it's this detective dude. He let out a PC, good seeing ya, with more whiskey on his breath than a fire breather. I stumbled down the next few steps, and I caught his limp body. All loose ends tied up, he said, winking at me while he tried to stand tall. Threw the doorman in the back of the wagon, he continued. He says nobody came in or out of the upstairs billiards hall last night. A hiccup interrupted Grant's thought. You know, I believed him, but the Bulls need someone to work on, and putting welts on this goon will make the afternoon go faster. He again tried to stand upright. Failing at that, he stumbled to the police car, got behind the wheel, and let the sirens loose, and drove the machine around the corner. Huh. So that means there's not going to be a lot of people here. Yeah, there's not going to be people to... or not anybody here to really ask questions about. I continue up the stairs to find a similar scene as the day before, only Tiny Paul had been replaced by a young woman, ideally playing with a deck of cards scattered across the billiards table. Chairs being placed on the billiards table. The balls were gone from the billiards table. In their place were some betting chips, the cards strewn across the felt. I counted 5 aces, 2 aces of hearts. Yeah, I want to see if there's any other clues that are outside of the lady talking here. I can see the tears welled in the girl's eyes. Oh, it's a different lady. I approached the young woman and looked her up and down. I studied her face. She was in her early 20s and was naturally pretty, with deep eyes, shimmering black hair, and big rugged lips, or rouged lips, though holding back tears somewhat twisted her face. Who may you be? Who may you be? I asked. She said in a clear, strong voice, I'm Ella Smith. I work nights as a backing singer. She added in a more delicate tone, but, well, last night I had a bit too much of a cider. The whole band here, playing a long game of poker and singing after work. I wondered if she had been in the billiards room since the previous evening. Perhaps she didn't want to talk about her night. It might embarrass a young woman. But I had to know the story. And you're still here? I asked. I came in this morning. A blush interrupted her before she continued her thoughts. I was laying on the pool table when I heard the cop banging on the metal door. I asked about Grant. Changing the subject from her drinking. I think she appreciated that. He was curious about the shooting outside last night. You know, a man died, but I didn't hear a peep. I don't think we could have heard anything through all that racket. I realized she was related to the Green case at least partially. I had to pump her for information. Alright, we got somebody, but we don't have Tiny Paul, which is kind of frank. Yeah, let's say about the location, I guess. Green was killed around midnight, I think. I told her. Do you remember anything from then? She turned red in an instant. Midnight was the time I sang all by myself to the crowd up here. How do you know it was midnight? I asked. Well, last New Year's Eve at exactly midnight, me and Lil Fanny, you know, our lead, did a swell duet with the boys. For the boys. They wanted to hear it again, but she wasn't around to sing it, so I did it alone. Fanny. So does that mean that Little Fanny was Mrs. Green? Little Fanny wasn't around? I asked. But the doorman says nobody from the billiards room left the joint. Ella shrugged. Maybe she was in the toilets. I didn't go looking for her. Look, I never get to sing lead. Oh no, that's her. Look, I never get to sing lead. They don't like us Chinese girls doing that, so I took my chance. So she's Chinese. I can't tell because it's like you can't really tell from just the way they're written or the way they're like shaped, I guess. How could I turn it down? She asked. Well, anyhow, after that song is when I really downed some gin. I didn't much like it, but they said it was good for me, and I was riding high with everyone watching. I don't remember much after that. I thanked her for the tip. So you claim you were in here? You claimed you were in here at midnight? I asked. That's right, he said. I don't think I can contradict that. Because there's nobody who gave me a clue about how Ella would be not here. But she's Chinese. But her last name is Smith. That's very weird. I'm kind of weirded out by that. Yeah, why was she holding back tears? I noticed she'd been crying and asked her why. Her lower lip wavered, but she managed to stop it before her tears could get through. It's that copper who was just here. He kept wanting me to feed him drinks, and the more I put in him, the more fresh he got with me. She heaved a sigh. It's not your fault, I said. Of course it isn't, she exclaimed. All men are brutes, but I can't exactly slip away from the copper. Anyhow, I'm just frantic because of the booze. I'm sure it'll wear off. She turned her gaze back to the cards on the table. She was putting on a strong mask, but I could tell something about Grant's interaction had rattled her. The truth is, most women wearing a mask in public, almost every one of us has a story about being mistreated, or worse. Oh, me too. I'm sad. I'm sad that every lady... But, I mean, historically, that was what happened back then, is... There was no sort of, like... Yeah, there's no people who were, like, treated... Like, no ladies were treated properly back then, and... I mean, it's a lot better now, but back then, it's just, like... There's never, like, a respectful, like, interaction for a lady back then, because men didn't care for it, honestly. And that's the sad thing. That's historical times, like, the way it was, but... I'm glad it's a lot better now at this point, where we aren't doing that all the time, or that we're not seeing more of that often anymore, where they just publicly just beat on people for no reason, beat on the ladies for some reason. But at the same time, it's still bad. I think the domestic stuff happening is pretty bad still out there. What else do you want to? What else do you want to know? She asked, interrupting my thoughts. But yeah, I think it's really hard to kind of like get through a copper who's just like mistreats their suspects or victims or either or. and just expect that they could get things out of them, even though they don't deserve it. So hopefully we'll be fine with what we can do with Ellie. Ellis, I don't know her real name. Smith. There we go. I'll just use her last name. Their last name is much more easy to remember than their first name. Anyway, Smith. Yeah, I'll probably investigate more of Smith in the next episode. For now. Otherwise, thank you guys for watching. Hope to see you guys in the next episode or another video of mine. Hope you guys have a great, amazing day. Good night to everyone for watching this. Next episode, in the case of Distrust, we'll hopefully get more information from her. And hopefully we'll see if we'll get another information that will help contradict either Mrs. Green or Connor. No, not Connor. Damn it, I can't remember the guy from the barbershop. Can't remember it. But yeah, to see if we can contradict the other two, if anything. Yeah, because I feel like you can cross talk between the three individuals who were part of the band, technically, and see where they're at about each other, I guess. Otherwise, that's pretty much it for this episode. So, anyways, Roz, out.